Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, who is affectionately known as Coach. And we've got a 5-game NBA DFS slate to break down for you here, game by game, as we always do. Coach, we're coming off a winning night. We gave out 2 hybrid lineups for FanDuel. They both cashed. Are you ready to back it up with some more wins tonight?
I am, man. I was loving our two main lineups, both busted 300 and in a really interesting night too. It was sort of a bizarre night. So real happy with that and just looking for the momentum. I know this 5-game type of schedule is exactly in your sweet spot as I look at you hitting a home run left-handed right behind you. So this is a sweet spot 5-gamer. I'm excited to go through it. And I think there's some big edges to be had tonight, even though there's only 5 games.
Believe it or not, that picture behind me was actually a single, but
Oh,
it was the first pitch I ever faced as a professional. And the host family I was living with, the dad captured it for me. The
how
ball was in the air
nice.
and ended up first pitch I ever saw. I hit for a single, and so just what an amazing gift that he gave to me by capturing that photo and making that for me. But
That is
yeah,
fantastic. But I
yeah,
think in about 10 years, it should go from like a double to a stand-up triple to a homer.
it might. We'll see. Um, but we're certainly going to try to knock it out of the park tonight. Like you said, your big angle yesterday was you went with Embiid and he smashed it. You paid down elsewhere. I went with Cousins for the value center and he absolutely smashed it. And
Yeah,
in that hybrid lineup, I had Fox as a point guard, and of course he got injured in the first quarter, but we still
yeah.
had over 300 fantasy points on FanDuel and cash. So
Both. I
we're going to
lost
try
D
to.
Rose early on too. So,
Yep.
the funny thing is I can't stand, when I listen to pods for NBA, well, any DFS sport, and the word that comes out of everybody's mouth so much is if D Rose didn't get hurt, if, Fox didn't get hurt. Well, you know what? If, and I'm not going to go in that story again. My uncle tells it, I'll say it. What the heck? If the bear didn't poop in the woods, you wouldn't have stepped in it.
Right.
It doesn't make sense, but it makes you think. If is a pretty dumb word. So, we did it with survival and we made it through tonight. Hopefully we get all our guys through nice and healthy, and that certainly would help.
Well, that's the key. If you smash everywhere as much as you can overcome injuries. And so that's what we try
Yeah.
to do every night. So we're going to get after it here. 5-game slate. As we mentioned, the first tip off is at 7:30. We've got Philly heading to Brooklyn. Uh, for the slate in general, we've got 5 of the 10 teams involved in a back-to-back, and we only have
Yeah.
one total over 230 on BetUS. They are our presenting sponsor, and that's going to be Game 5. So we'll get to that one in a bit. This first one here, Brooklyn is the 1.5 point underdog at home. Philly
Right.
coming in at 7-1, so they're the favorites here on a back-to-back after that huge win over the Wizards, 141 to 136. Philly played big minutes. The over under here is 226 and a half. In
Right.
terms of the injury news, we've got Durant still out, and Kurucs is questionable. No big news on the Philadelphia side. Coach, walk us through this one.
Well, first of all, anybody that ever says coaching is underrated in the NBA, they're full of baloney because coaches make all the difference in the world. You look at the Nick Nurse teams and what they've done. Brad Stevens teams have gone deep. And you take out Brett Brown, who we've always talked about here. Great guy, love him, wish him the best, but he's just not a great coach and was not for that team. And we talked about that during that whole, trust the process thing that went on for like 4 years. Look at this. You move them out, you bring in a veteran like Doc Rivers that knows how to handle a franchise. You've got a great guy as Elton Brand as your GM, and those guys make some key moves, trades for Curry and getting Horford out of town, set up a nice lineup, and boom, they have the best record in the NBA. They're playing fantastic, and they look like they're on the same page. So I always have to give a shout out when something like that stands out as much as it does, because coaching makes all the difference, believe me, even in the NBA, even on a team like a LeBron team or whatever. Yes, when you have a phenomenal guy like LeBron or someone of that stature, which is only a handful, they're going to have some part of that. But for the most part, you're going to have teams like Philly that were just dying for a leader to bring, the pieces of the game together. So very fired up about that. Love the way that they're playing. And this game's going to be interesting. There was a lot of emotion in the game yesterday. Philly was fired up. It was a high scoring, high possession game. And, back to backs with a few of those guys as vets definitely has to raise a little bit of a red flag of concern if you're going to get full minutes. Certainly not going to spend up for the Embiids and Simmons because of those circumstances. And then, that creates a little doubt for me. And of the 5 games, there's one game that has like a ridiculous 209 total that makes it very difficult to play in DFS. And this game to me is difficult. I know we have a lot of teams coming off back to backs, but this one scares me the most. Here's the main reason why. Defensively, Philadelphia is 3rd in the league in team defensive efficiency, and the Brooklyn Nets are 1st. So, that's definitely pause. Even though the number isn't horrible as far as the over-under, that is definitely pause. You remove a Durant from the mix and then maybe reduced minutes for some of the Philly guys. That's a concern. Pace is not in anybody's huge favor here, 17th and 14th respectively. So it's not going to be a huge up-tempo game. Therefore, I'm concerned that this isn't really a game to focus on. Again, I don't want to spend the money for Embiid or Simmons on this slate. Harris is somewhat playable, not chasing the Seth Curry money. He went 7 for 7 from 3 initially. And I think even though he's really cheap, it's just silly money to chase a guy coming off that big of a game. I'll tell you a guy that I really like in general. I'm not sure about this slate, but Shake Milton, no one's really noticed, has been super, super steady for them. He's scoring points. He's, when he gets decent minutes, which he's been getting, he's really been getting the more minutes off the bench than anybody, is a nice value guy in a game where he's going to step up and he can get you 7-8x, very, very easily. So, I think he becomes a question of possibility. Tobias Harris has been steady as a rock every game. He never seems to really sit minutes, as with an Embiid or a Simmons coming back, not that long ago from an injury. So there's some questions there. On the Brooklyn side, man, I'll tell you, I haven't enjoyed watching a guy play that much in a while as Kyrie Irving that last game. Smooth as silk. And just, anything, he can do anything. I've never seen anybody, truthfully, in my lifetime handle the ball on a string like he does. I think he's number 1 handle, crossover, the whole 9 yards. It's just unbelievable to watch. So, I know he's super expensive, but he certainly has to be a pay-up option for you in this scenario. And then you're back into that quagmire of, good God, there's like 7 guys you can pick from. Karis LeVert's going to be popular. And then you've got that conglomeration of Harris, TLC, Allen, Jordan. Jared Allen, if he played more minutes, I think would be a smash spot kind of guy. But is he going to get enough minutes with them trying to get Jordan quite a few and then even Jeff Green? Hey, we have a visitor. All right. What's up?
He's trying to make an encore performance. He was on once when you were out, Coach.
Nice.
I guess he's really interested in game 1 here to hear what's going on.
Very good. He snuck up in there like Shake Milton may do for this game.
That's right.
But that's it. I mean, it's not a focus game for me. I'm going to be tempted to see if I can fit in Irving's money, and if not, maybe just one value dude from somewhere here. So, what do you think, man?
Well, I think I'm with you in terms of not wanting to pay up for the most expensive guys on Philly. And Tobias Harris is solid as a rock. So in the 7K range, I will consider him. He's fine on a back-to-back. I differ with you a little bit on Seth Curry. I just want to point out that he's shooting 59% on 3-pointers for the season.
He's
So,
unconscious.
I know he had a huge game last time out. And so to me, it's not really about potentially chasing those points. It's just that he is GPP because, he is reliant on the 3-pointer. He's doing other stuff too, but not a cash option for me. But on a 5-game slate, you throw him in a GPP. And then Shake Milton is in the price range for me where he's a cash option, not really GPP. On the Brooklyn side, you talk about coaching, and we can't sleep on Steve Nash here. Great start. For them to be number one in terms of defensive efficiency, very impressive. And they are 11th in offensive efficiency. And they smoked Utah with Kyrie and a bunch of bench guys.
Yeah.
So, Jared Allen, he has been on the bench. He's certainly a worthy starter in the NBA, and he was tremendous. So he's somebody you could look at, but I kind of like Nurkic in that same price range as well in the last game. So as we record this here early afternoon, we don't know the starting lineup, and that'll be interesting to me because it was that surprise last time with TLC and Harris coming off the bench. If TLC starts, I really like his price range here. 3,900 on DraftKings, only 41 on FanDuel. And then LeVert is in play for me as well. That pricing is a little steep for him coming off the bench. He only got 21 minutes in the last game. His usage was high when he was out there, but
I hate that price.
Yeah, don't love the price. So that's about it for me. Let's go to game 2. We've got Cleveland and Memphis, and that's that dud you were talking about in terms of the total, only 209.5 on BetUS. Memphis, the 5-point home favorites. This is an 8 o'clock tip-off.
Yeah.
In terms of the injury news on the Memphis side, of course, Ja is still out and John Conchar. And on Cleveland, we still have that huge list of guys out. Kevin Love, Porter Jr., Darius Garland, Dante Exum, and Dylan Windler. In terms of the numbers, in terms of pace, this is sort of an average game. Cavs 21st, Memphis 11th. Cavaliers surprising here on the defensive side, number 2 in defensive efficiency. Memphis not so good at 21st. So, with the total and with the fact that Ja is out and Cleveland has had a big struggle scoring the ball. They've had 5 straight games where they've scored less than 100 points.
Yeah.
So I'm just not interested in this game much in general. Maybe a one-off. The guy on Cleveland to look at would be Colin Sexton, like you said in the last game. The usage is just gonna spike with all these guys out. Like his price on FanDuel at 6,900. As for the rest of Cleveland, I don't think I'm going to play anybody. I will mention Thon Maker on Cleveland. Here's a GPP option for you. He's 3,100, and it's not a sexy pick, but 2 straight games he's given you 5x return in his 18 and 14 minutes. So, he's somebody to consider if he just makes sense with price. I'm not excited about him in general, of course, in terms of his performance, but wanted to mention him. And then on the Memphis side, I like Melton at 3,300 on DraftKings. He got 16 minutes in that first game back. If he gets a bit of a bump, that's not really an accurate price for his talent level. Gorgie Jang still in play on DraftKings, 4,100. Once again, he got 22 minutes last game. So he's just sort of splitting minutes with Joval. And then Clark on FanDuel is a potential one-off at 5,100, more of a cash game option. But like I said, probably a one-off at most here for this game for me.
I'm with you, man. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this game. I think it's a DFS stinker. Certainly of the 5 games, by far the worst on the board. I think part of Cleveland's being second in defensive efficiency is a little bit of a statistical anomaly because they're playing so slow and the possessions are less and the pace is less, the turnovers, everything is just really adding up to where they're holding other teams down just because they're holding themselves down as well. So there's just not a lot of action in the games. And when you decrease possessions, I mean, that's just taking DFS points right out of your pocket. So, I mean, anytime right now that Cleveland's playing, regardless pretty much of who they're playing, under the circumstances of their lack of depth in the backcourt, Colin Sexton has to be an option. I mean, he made some of my lineups the last game. Again, it's, you don't get excited about taking a Cav, but his usage is high, and he was like 7x again because it's just somebody's got to try to score the ball, and he's about the only option certainly in the 1, 2, 3 hole really for the whole team. Uh, After that, it's a crapshoot. I just, if you want to sit there and sweat out a Jetty Osman, he did have a massive step back from where he did the game before, as we predicted, with Okoro and different guys playing. So with this low number, I'm not interested there. On the Memphis side, I think you make a good point on D'Anthony Melton. I think they want him to be the main guy at point. Tyus Jones has not shot the ball well at all, and I think they want to get him back in there. Melton had COVID. This last game we had predicted 15, 18 minutes, fell right in that gap. I'm comfortable saying today, 22 to 25 minutes would be the gap. I think he'll progress up. I'm not sure I can do it this game, but the next game out, if he gets to that 28, 30-minute mark, I think he's a fine play at his price. After that, again, you're rolling the dice. Brooks can have a decent game. Kyle Anderson has played very, very well, but it's always gut-wrenching to take him at times. And Brandon Clark, again, a guy that can smash, and I had him last time, but you have to drag him across the finish line all the time, it seems like. So not excited about that. Again, with the Jang getting minutes from Joe Val, sours it a bit. So I took way more time than I should have on a game that I'm basically going to pass on. If I don't have the money for Irving, the pivot I may utilize to get more players in would be a Sexton. But other than that, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Let's go to game 3. Let's head towards the center of the country. We've got your Dallas Mavericks traveling to the Mile High City to take on Denver in a 10 o'clock tip. Over under here, 224.5. Denver favored by 2.5. In terms of the injury news, Trey Burke is out. And on the Denver side, Michael Porter Jr. is back in.
Yes.
So walk me through this one.
Well, this, I've got some insight here, I think that makes a lot of sense. And, I'm not sure the conclusion of that information, but that's what we can talk through here. First of all, from a defensive efficiency standpoint, Dallas is 16th, Denver's 25th, and they were a top 10 defense last year. So they have just unraveled defensively. So that gives you some hope. The total in this game is good. And then, but here's where you hit the brakes and the skids. 29th and 28th, 2 of the 3 slowest teams in the entire league. That's a problem. So the question is, what gives here? There's a couple of main things I want to bring up. Cauley Stein has sort of taken over the starting center role from a really poorly playing Dwight Powell. However, Carlisle's mentioned it before. The last time that we played Denver, Boban was a key guy. He played over 30 minutes, which is extremely unusual for him. And he really did shut down the Joker. I mean, Joker got 0 in the paint, one of his, poorer games. Carlisle loves situational basketball. He'll play 14 guys. He may play 3 guys one game and they don't get in the next game. He plays situational basketball. And I really firmly believe Boban's going to be a huge part of the game plan tonight. So Boban is playable for me. I'm not sure if he starts or comes in real quickly for Cauley Stein, but I think you're going to see a lot of Boban tonight against the Joker. Only way that would, I think, shrink is if he gets in foul trouble. I think Powell's somewhat the odd man out, especially in this type of situational game. So I wouldn't go there at all. And so I think that makes a difference. That changes game flow, game, situation. Now, I had Jamal Murray the other day, and he just looked like dog doo-doo. I don't know what is his deal. He did have that one really good game, and I thought maybe that woke him up, but he just not doesn't look right. He's not moving right. I just don't know what the deal is there. So real uncomfortable, taking him after really watching pretty much every minute he played that game. And there were times where they kept Compazzo in there instead of him because he was a spark plug. He was hitting some shots. That dude's small, but he is a spark plug. And so I'm not comfortable with the big guys from Denver, being Murray and the Joker under these circumstances. Porter scares me. The question is, they're not going to give him a full allotment of minutes coming back from COVID. So as much as he scares me, I can live with 18 minutes of Michael Porter and not have him on my team. If you start Compazzo, I'm going to punch you in the nose. I'll tell you that right now, because I know he's going to make your GPP clipboard. No, I'm messing with you, but I know Compazzo's getting minutes. I just don't trust him. Morris is still going to play. You got Harris, some PJ Dozier, Barton. It's all clogged up. Millsap, don't do it. So I'm not Denver. I'm not on the Denver side tonight. And it's not because I'm a Mavericks fan. I don't let that affect me whatsoever. I just think that the matchup is just a little rough for them, and they're playing bad. I mean, they're like 2-5 or something. They're not playing well, and even though it's going to be a competitive game, I'm not thrilled. Now on the Dallas side, we've talked about this 1,000,001 times. Luka had a good game the last game. He's not been completely fit. That's an issue. Can he go back-to-back games, where he's, going to really get something done, especially in the thin air of Denver? That's a concern. And then when you look at the secondary guys, it's no picnic. Let's face it. I mean, Josh Richardson's been steady. Trey Burke is out. So, that gives Hardaway a little bit more run. He came off the bench the last game. I wouldn't be surprised if he started this game, though. I think that he probably will. You get a mixture of, Jalen Brunson in there also, which, also liquefies the guard rotation beyond Luka. And then, we talked about the bigs. I think Boban's a nice, sneaky little quality, cheap play. After that, I don't trust the Maxi Kleber, James Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith rotation whatsoever. So the question is, do you go Luka? I'm not going to go there because of Denver, the higher altitude, even though they're playing bad D. Porzingis will be back in the next week. That's the big news coming out of Dallas today. He should only miss a couple more games. He'll be back. That changes the dynamics. So as far as this game goes, even though it will be highly stacked, highly watched, and there's a lot of people that are going to be looking to count on some big games here from people, I am more from, play Boban as a value play in cash. I'm not afraid to play him either. It's not, a GPP play in particular. And then, if you need to slide in some cash that's balanced, is our Richardson or Hardaway, I think have some potential there. But after that, on the Denver side, I could easily walk out of here with one or two Mavs and be done with that game, believe it or not.
All right. Yeah, I see this one a tiny bit different just because I am interested in Luka here. I like how he finally got big minutes, had a monster game. Yes, he's not in perfect shape, but I like this matchup, with Denver being bad defensively so far this year. We saw what D'Angelo Russell did against them in the paint in the last game. So I think Luka can do the same thing. And then with the centers, I like your insight on Boban. And I mean, you know me, if we can feel good about Boban getting anything more than about 16 minutes, I love playing him. But I'm going to wait and see what the starting lineup is. If Willie Cauley-Stein does start again, then I really like his price on both sites. And the beautiful thing about it is that you can put Willie Cauley-Stein in there as a placeholder. If for some reason Boban starts, he's cheaper than Cauley-Stein on both sites. You could sub him out if you want. So that's an important position tonight for sure. Um, Brunson to me is in play, especially in a GPP because he's so cheap. He's only 3,300 on DraftKings. Um, and he didn't do a whole lot in the last game, but with Burke out, you got to feel good about Brunson's spot in the rotation. And you got to be careful with your accusations about the clipboard and allegations early in the afternoon here because Campazzo is not going to make the clipboard.
Oh, he's not.
No,
Oh,
unless
thank
there's
God I
some
didn't have to punch you in the nose.
unless there's some
Virtual.
sort of
It was virtual, by the way. That's
yeah,
all.
unless there's some change because I feel better about Brunson on the other side here. Campazzo, is a spark plug. I love the way he looks out there, but with Porter Jr. back, if we've got Barton coming off the bench, I don't trust Campazzo's minutes because Monte Morris is still there. So I'm with you on more on the Denver side in that I don't really want to play anybody from this game because of Porter Jr. being back in. Jermichael Green has been great. I've been playing him the last couple games, but
Yes.
he's going to take a hit with Porter Jr. back. And don't
Yeah.
forget that Millsap was in foul trouble in the last game, and that certainly helped Jermichael Green because he got back in the lineup early there in that third quarter.
Sure.
Jokic is a GPP option for me. He's been priced up. That's the thing though with Denver is to me it's all about Jokic right now and not Murray because Jokic is dominating the ball and the assists. So he's really the first guy you look at with Denver. But I'd rather pay up for Luka on the other side in this one. So Jokic probably won't make my cash lineup.
Did you see the last John Wick movie that Boban was in?
No, I didn't.
It's hilarious. He fights John Wick and ends up getting killed, but he's in there, karate and everything else. It's hilarious. So that's him tonight. He's the Joker stopper tonight. So we'll see how he does. The question I have for you, and I'm sitting here starting to almost feel 50-50 on it. I don't think you can do both, but do you pay up for Kyrie or Luka? I think, that is probably going to be my choice of the night is what can you do there? And do you think the thin air in Denver coming off a game where Luka played a ton of minutes, is that an effect?
It could be. I mean, it was 2 days ago. If it was a back-to-back, then I probably wouldn't go there. But I'm going Luka over Kyrie right now. I agree.
Okay.
Watching Kyrie in that last game, he was just phenomenal in the first half. He couldn't miss. But $900 more on DraftKings, 1,100 more on FanDuel in a much better game environment because Kyrie's going up against that third-ranked Philly defense. A lot of length on that team. So to me, it's Luka tonight.
I don't blame you, and it doesn't take much to convince me right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm stuck between them, but I'm with you.
All right, game 4, we've got Spurs and Lakers, another 10 o'clock Eastern tip. 222.5 on the total here. Lakers 5.5-point favorites. And this is the third time these teams have played already this season. Lakers won both games in San Antonio. And so now they play in Los Angeles. Lakers on the front end of a back-to-back here. They're going to play Chicago tomorrow at home. In terms of injuries, LaMarcus Aldridge is back in the lineup here. He did not play in either of those two matchups against the Lakers, so that changes things a little bit. On the Lakers side, Caruso is back in and available. KCP is questionable. LeBron and AD are questionable as well. In terms of the game environment, Spurs are 10th in pace. Lakers are dead last. And
Amazing.
Strong defense here so far. Spurs above average at 11th. Lakers 7th. The Lakers, the thing with them is they're slow, but they are 5th in offensive efficiency, so they're getting it done in that department. And then the Spurs are 12th in offensive efficiency. And, for the initial overview of this game, Coach, I had a realization before the show started today, and that's that I think we've been calling the San Antonio team the wrong name here in NBA DFS recently. I don't think it should be the Spurs. I think there really should be called the San Antonio GPPs because I don't think you can trust any of their guys in cash.
No.
Especially at their prices tonight. And the fact that LaMarcus Aldridge is back here, Without him, okay, the usage was somewhat focused between DeJounte Murray, DeRozan, Keldon Johnson. But with him back, they could all get 12 field goal attempts. So if you've got some inside information on the Spurs and can tell me who you'd want to play in cash, I'd love to hear it because I just don't think it exists. So I think they're GPP only for me. Not really interested in any of those guys in terms of feeling confident about their usage and their production. I mean, we've seen it for years off the bench. Um, Patty Mills has stepped up here recently, but he's a GPP option for sure because he's so reliant on the three-pointer. So I'm going to look more at the Lakers side for potentially one play here or there. LeBron is in play for me. He got that triple-double against San Antonio the last time they played. I do think he'll play despite the questionable tag. And then Schroeder on FanDuel still in play for me at 5,300. Do you know that he's had 5 straight games where he's played between 31 and 36 minutes? And in the last 2 games against San Antonio, he had 29 and 27 FanDuel points. So at that price tag, you feel pretty good about at least a 5x return. So he's in play for me as well. But not going to get a ton of exposure to this game because I like the late game even more. But what are your thoughts on San Antonio and the Lakers?
Well, I mean, for people that are new to the show or don't, haven't really followed it very closely in years past here, I'm generally a cash player. Like last night, I played quite a bit. I played no GPPs at all. Now, so usually I'll sneak one or two in there. I like my lineup. It's a hybrid build, and I felt like I'm going all cash and, undefeated in the 50-50s and double ups and head to heads. And, once you do that, you've got a base so that those single entries where you can min cash or whatever, that adds up. So in saying that, and I bring that up because I almost never play a Spur for the exact reason you said. You just can't trust them. They can quickly sink your cash lineup if if you all of a sudden depend on, I've taken a few shots here and there with DeRozan, who's expensive. He can be hit or miss. All the other guys though, it's such a crapshoot, like you said. I mean, how do you possibly trust that you're going to get the game you need from Lonnie Walker or Patty Mills or DeJounte Murray? Devin Vassal's starting to play a lot. Keldon Johnson I got sucked into the other day, and he put like a nice, sweet little 13 on the board. Rudy Gay's been getting nice minutes. Pirtle plays in certain games. LMA's back. It's a crapshoot, and Pop doesn't run anything for anybody in particular. I thought I saw some sense of Keldon Johnson starting to get his number called more, but I think maybe I was wanting to see that because, with LMA back and DeRozan, they're still going to be the go-to guys on big shots. And let's face it, if Murray or Walker have the ball in their hands, they're gonna dominate some of the play. So I don't like anybody on the Spurs side, especially since you know how I feel about the Lakers defense and their interior defense. Again, find GPP plays here and there if you click the right number, but not for cash. For me on the Lakers side, this is the big thing, and this is where you have to follow us. We're doing this 6 hours before tip, so we're going to get it out there so everybody can hear and listen. But you got to follow us in Discord to become a member. Go to dfscoachtalk.com. Shoot us a direct message if you want to join. So, right on Twitter, I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic. Shoot one of us a DM today if you're looking to join. We'll get you in the system, get you into Discord right away. If you go to our website, right now we're updating some of our buttons to join. So the easiest thing is just send us a quick email, dfscoachtalk.com. We'll respond, give you the pricing, and get you in Discord. But the reason I bring that up is, you need to follow us there either in Discord or on Twitter throughout the afternoon, because some of this news is going to be extremely important. I don't believe that this is a regular, let's list all the Lakers and then they're going to all play. I think we're going to have some guys sitting. I'm not convinced that Pope's ready to come back. I think Davis may sit. This is not coach news or anything. This is just me, the coach, saying, I think that if Davis sits with a back-to-back, I think LeBron plays, Davis sits. That's my gut feeling. If that takes place, it changes everything here. LeBron becomes, a top play for me immediately with the usage there, and Schroeder becomes somewhat of a can't miss play as well, in my opinion. So, we need to see how that news rolls out. The third guy that becomes in play, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really like the way Marc Gasol is playing. And I'm the guy that's been saying he's washed up and it's over. And here, this last 3-4 games, he's decided, he's Marc Gasol again. He's knocking down shots, getting rebounds, blocks. And so you got to consider him in a game where Davis is out. Even though Harrell is splitting minutes with him, he's so cheap, it's hard to get away from. And if you do a two-center cheap way, if Davis sits, and you go with a Gasol and a Boban, for example, at your two big spots, it opens the world up to you. You may be able to fit something insane like, Kyrie and LeBron, or, LeBron and Luka, something of that nature. So keep that information open, and a lot of it rests on Davis's shoulders. So I want to see how this plays out. This could end up being the key game for me of the night, and I think there's some good potential here if the Spurs can keep this game close.
Yeah, I agree. Wouldn't surprise me if AD sits, so that will be a huge piece of news. All right,
It's not one hangnail, it's two today.
Yeah.
So it's usually just the pinky, but it's the ring finger and pinky today.
Well,
we need two files.
Two hangnails with back-to-back games. He might have to miss both games. We'll see. All right, the other game at 10 o'clock, we've got Minnesota and Portland. Finally, we've got this juicy total of 233.5 on BetUS. Yeah. Portland, 10-point home favorites. In terms of the injury news, the big cat is still out. Okogie has been ruled out today. And on the Portland side, Rodney Hood is questionable. So walk us through this one, please, Coach.
Yeah, well, from a defensive efficiency standpoint, Minnesota's 10th. Not that they're playing phenomenal defense. Just, again, you got a scenario where, it's not conducive sometimes with the pace and things that they're doing. Now, they are the 9th fastest paced team, so it's not like it's limited possessions. If you look at some of their games, they're putting some big numbers on the board, and they're letting up some big numbers. And that without Cat is a little skewed as well, but certainly something to look at. On the pace side, though, the part that scares you is Portland is 27th. So they're playing the, CJ or Lillard, pounding the ball into the ground and then working it, trying to get it inside for Nurk, or if Carmelo gets it, that's 10 seconds of your life burned right there. And then, so there's just not a lightning pace here, that I expect in this game, even though the number's fantastic and neither team is terrific defensively. But you've got, a 10th and 27th defensive efficiency and a 9th and 26th pace. So sort of an even wash there. Couple of things I will say. I think Minnesota's bad. And I said that yesterday, and I want to apologize to the Thunder organization. Made fun of them yesterday, said they were going to get killed. They win the game outright. That's why I'm not a huge bettor of the basketball games. I'll take the players before I take the games. But, Minnesota's playing like, bad. And without Cat, they're just, like we said, a dumpster fire lost team, rotating a bunch of guys, and just don't look like they are on the same page. So does this game blow out? There's the fear. Everybody's going to stack this game. It's going to be highest owned, highest total. There's some prices in there of guys that are cheap enough with the Russells and Beasleys. And, don't fall for the Hernan Gomez thing, though. He went berserk the last game. It was against his old team, Denver, and his best friend is the Joker, by the way. So don't fall for that. After that, though, you got that splits of the Ed Davis at Nas Reed thing, which was a disaster last time out. And then, Layman's getting minutes, Culver's getting minutes. I'm afraid of the blowout, and I'm not crazy about the matchup. Now, Russell and Beasley are in play for me. You have to consider them, in my opinion, in this game, just because the pace and the total dictates. On the Portland side, this could be the get fat game. You could certainly play Lillard and McCollum if you wanted to. And Minnesota is not going to play good defense in the back. I mean, there was some times with Russell and Rubio in there together where I think I could have maybe had 5 points.
Yeah.
I really do. I would have fallen over dead probably, but I would have had my 5 in the bank. So, how do you not take either Dame or CJ? I mean, they're both extremely tempting. Almost think you got to roster one of them. The bizarre occurrence of Robert Covington, I played him finally because we just keep saying he's got to break out of this. And he did have a stretch where he played better, but he's still not in a groove with this team, and that's a concern. I don't trust Carmelo. We've seen Cantor chop away at Nurkic's minutes and usage. That's a concern. I would not put Derek Jones out there if his salary was 0. I'm sorry. I know he has one great highlight tip dunk every game, but if you want to take a chance in cash of taking an 8.2 fantasy points, then have fun with DJ. So, again, it's the money here. The money talks and everything else walks. I like both backcourts. I think all 4 of those guys need to get a lot of interest. It's going to soak up a lot of your salary, but I think you have to have exposure to this game. The question is where, and you don't want to have too much if it blows out. So that's the best I can say, man.
Yeah, I think I like this game a little bit more than you. And I will have several guys, I think, in it in most of my lineups. And
You won't
yes,
be alone. I think this will be a
no,
high-owned game.
yeah. And like you said, yes, Minnesota's 10th defensively in terms of efficiency, but because of their ninth ranked pace, they do allow over 120 points per game. And Portland allows over 118 points a game. And
Solid D.
those are the 2 biggest numbers on this slate. So this is a game to attack bad defenses, hence the high total. And I do want to attack it in large part because of the prices as well. Very reasonable. On the Portland side, CJ 8,500 on DraftKings, Lillard 93. Now the interesting thing there is CJ is actually averaging more DraftKings points than Lillard
Isn't
this
that
year.
something? Yeah.
So for him to be that much cheaper on DraftKings, I do like that. CJ's just been a little bit more consistent than in years past here, and they're all shooting a ton of threes, which I love on DraftKings. CJ shot 14 the last game. Lillard got up his 11, and Covington shot 9. And watching that game against the Bulls, this was the first time where it felt like they were looking to Covington to make sure he got involved. Covington was more aggressive offensively, ready for that catch and shoot on the 3-pointer. And so he's still right around 5,000 on both sites. So I do like him in this game matchup, in this game environment. And then Nurkic is finally trending in the right direction. I think he got 28 minutes last game out, had probably his best game. He's only a little bit over 6,000 on both sites. I know Cantor's been playing well, getting good minutes, but I like this situation for Nurkic. On the Minnesota side, haven't really liked the way that D'Angelo Russell has looked this season, but he finally was terrific against Denver. The one caveat here with him in this game is potentially, believe it or not, Covington's defense. In that Chicago game, Covington spent a lot of time defending Zach LaVine, and he made it tough for him to be productive. And I don't see any reason why they wouldn't put Covington on D'Angelo Russell. He's got the length and speed to slow him down, and I don't think they need Covington's defense on a guy like Malik Beasley or Culver. Anybody can guard those guys, including Derek Jones Jr. So I'm a little concerned about D'Angelo Russell because of that. but the game environment, his price, I'm still going to have a fair amount of shares of Russell. With those wing guys, Beasley and Culver, a little bit more GPP option for me. I do like that Beasley's gotten between 13 and 16 shots in 4 straight games.
Yeah.
But pretty dependent on scoring. And then Wancho, yes, that was the narrative game against Denver, but if he's starting, he's still 4,400 on DraftKings and 4,200 on FanDuel. And to get a starter in this game, coming off a big game, I'm willing to invest in Wancho again tonight. With those big guys, I don't want to get involved in that. Jared Vanderbilt got in the mix.
Yeah, he played a lot.
He played a lot of minutes and good activity.
Yes.
He's worth a look
he's like a Boucher kind of guy almost.
Yeah, exactly. Except Boucher's a much better shooter, obviously. But in terms of like their body and the way they move and the hustle and the rebounds,
rangy.
Rangy. So I don't think you need to go to him because Wancho's around the same price, but he's a guy to watch and see what they do with his minutes. So that's it. Anything else here on the last game before we wrap up?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think you make some great points. I've got Covington down as guarding Beasley. I think Beasley is a bigger part of their offense than people realize. And you brought up the point. He's getting a lot of shots. I don't know if Covington, yes, he can guard 1 through 5, but I think D'Angelo is just a smidgen too quick for him off the dribble if he really pulls him away from the basket. Not that he couldn't do a decent job, but I think they'll put Covington on Beasley, which means, that makes D'Angelo way more effective if he's being guarded by Dame or McCollum, like I think he will. So let's see how that pans out. Which would downgrade Beasley and upgrade D'Angelo for me. So I'm glad you brought up that point. The other thing too is I know McCollum scored more points than Lillard, but Lillard's always like a step away from one of those 50 real point kind of games. You just never know when he's going to drop that. And you certainly want to be on the right side of that. And it just feels and smells a little bit like it's one of those where he's going to have, 44 going into the fourth quarter or something crazy. I know that's a crazy prediction, but my biggest concern, and this is the one thing I really want to get the opinion on from you, because whether I stack 3 or 4 guys in this game or not depends on it. Do you think that Minnesota, as garbagey as they are right now, can stick with Portland to make it a game?
Well, they can, but you can't count on it because they're young, they're inconsistent, especially with their leader right now, D'Angelo Russell. I mean, you can't count on him to bring it night in and night out like a guy like Lillard on the other side. So
right.
He could throw up a dud, and if he throws up a dud, we're not going to count on Ricky Rubio to resurrect this team and keep him close. No. I mean, he looks awful off the bench.
I can't believe they even brought him back. That makes no sense.
A sad shell of his former self, unfortunately, at least right now. But, if he gets in better shape, I'm sure that can change. But, no, you can't count on it. But if they do bring it like they did in that game against Denver and are actually scoring offensively, then this
the Thunder game would blow out and they win outright. So that always makes you a little gun shy. Normally, I would predict a blowout here. Just Minnesota, another game on the road, another game on the West Coast. They're coming off where they did play hard and they had some narrative there. It terrifies me as far as the blowout, and that's my concern. So that's what I've got to sit on. A lot of it's going to have to do with that Lakers news, because I'll transfer some of that over here. But I'll tell you, if you have a nice lead built up and you have some exposure to this game, but not overexposed, and it does blow out, that could make a big difference for you. And coming down the stretch where guys are going to need those monster games. But for the record, I lean a little towards Lillard over McCollum, even though the stats show a little differently. But great game though, great way to end the night, and lots of possibilities tonight. Even though there's only 5 games, we have a lot of possibilities. Listen, if you're catching this on our podcast on YouTube. We've been stating we're going to go live streaming, and we are. We're just trying to get all the bugs out. Andrew and I are not the 1A guys for figuring out all that kind of stuff. Let's just say, we're ranked in the lower quadrant in that area. So once we get that figured out, we'll get it going. But if you're watching it on YouTube like we normally do, it's on there. Please take a second, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Our subscriber numbers, we've reached some milestones there. We want to keep that going, and hit the little alert button, because with all of the podcasts coming out with football, all that stuff's happening now, with an exciting playoffs weekend coming, and then our 7-day-a-week NBA stuff, you want to get an alert when those podcasts come out. So that's really what I've got, man. You can finish it out and wrap it up and close us out and whatever you want to do. And then I'll hit the button and get this sucker up so our members and listeners can enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely hit that alert button. We've got the NFL weekend podcasts posting probably later today here on Thursday. So check those out. We'll have the 3-game preview for Saturday, and then a different podcast for the Sunday 3-game slate. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll be working on that with Shane. We're going to record that later today here on Thursday. So that will do it for today. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Good luck with your lineups. Let us know on Twitter if you have any questions or want to join at DFS Coach Talk on Twitter. And in the meantime, we will look to catch you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.